Hi, welcome back to my channel. My name is Jennifer and this is my autumnal TBR. So I wasn't actually planning on doing this video this year. I normally do an autumnal TBR because I really like autumnal reading, horror reading, maybe reading a couple of classics. But I hadn't really sort of planned this video until yesterday when I decided actually I do want to do an autumnal TBR, and I now have 27 books that I want to read in autumn, which feels, whilst theoretically perfectly possible, there will be other books that I'll be reading as well as these as we go along, I'm sure. So I think this is quite ambitious, but I've really enjoyed putting this stack of books together because I'm really excited for all of them. I was intending to wear a jumper to film this video to fit in with the autumn vibe, but it's too hot. Even though it is September and it is raining, I'm still sweating. Anyway, we have some categories here. So we've got some horror, then a mystery, then classics, and then miscellaneous. So let's get into it with the horror. First up is a book I actually started reading yesterday, is Model Home by Rivers Solomon. This is a story about three grown-up siblings who go back to their parents' home, and right at the start of the book, and this is on the blurb, find their parents dead at their house. So their parents lived in a sort of a fancy gated community, and they were the only black family living there. I'm only up to page 48 so far, but it's very, very good. I really like Rivers Solomon writing. So yes, that's the first one. I'm surrounded by piles of books. Next is Our Share of Night by Mariana Enriquez. So this is a big fat horror book. How long is this? 700 pages. So I'm going to be buddy reading this with the fabulous Kirsten from Reading Nymph. I will link Kirsten's channel down below. Kirsten does loads of really great cozy reading vlogs that I just thoroughly enjoy so much. This is going to be our first buddy read, so we're going to be reading this in October. This is a book I have picked up in the past and DNF'd only because quite early on I realised I didn't have the sort of mental capacity and commitment to give to this book that I think it requires. I have read a couple of short story collections by Mariana Enriquez before and really enjoyed them. So this is about a young boy and his father, and there's something about, the ability to talk with the dead. So I think his father's able to talk with the dead, and that comes with some unwanted consequences. And I think those dead people now have their sights set on the little boy Gasper, and I'm really looking forward to this, and I'm very pleased to have a buddy read because I need someone to help push me through this, I think, just because it's so long. Next is Hell House by Richard Mathieson. The only Richard Mathieson I've read before is I Am Legend, which I did really enjoy. I've heard mixed things about Hell House. This is about a big old house which has stood abandoned for 20 years, and some terrible things happened there many years ago. And in our present day, we've got four strangers who want to find out the secrets of this house, and I'm guessing it's not going to go well for them. Next is Lair by James Herbert. This is the sequel to The Rats. I think there's maybe I want to say there's 4 books in that series. I'm definitely not committing to reading the whole series, but I read The Rats a couple of years ago and really enjoyed it, and actually picked up Lair secondhand recently. So yeah, James Herbert does really good over the top gruesome set piece horror. I've read The Fog as well by James Herbert, which I would really recommend. Actually, that's my favourite of his that I've read so far, I think. So Lair is a sequel to The Rats, which is about killer rats basically. So I'll read that when I'm in the mood for something more gruesome and grotesque. Next is a graphic novel. This is A Guest in the House by Emily Carroll. I've heard good things about this. I picked this up when it was on display at the library and work. There's some of the pictures. So I want to read this. I really want to read this, but I need a weekend or a day of the weekend where I'm between books and I can just sit down and read this, because this isn't very sort of easily transportable. So I'm waiting for the stars to align so I can just read this on a weekend. It's got a quote at the top by Guillermo del Toro, which bodes well. What is this actually about? I don't know. So it's about a woman called Abby who's settling into married life with her husband and her stepdaughter. But there's a secret to do with what happened to the stepdaughter's mother, and there's a strange house. I don't know. It looks really good. It looks really, really good. Like, look at some of the artwork. It looks amazing. What's that one? Okay, still on horror. Supplication by Nour Abi-Nakhoul, who I believe is an author from Montreal. I really, really like this cover. That's what first attracted me to the book. So this is about, I don't think I've heard anyone review this yet, but this is about an unnamed narrator who wakes up in a basement tied to a chair and with a man looming over her. And then it says she emerges from captivity into a mysterious and nightmarish city. So it sounds weird, creepy, a bit fever dreamy. And I just really love that cover, so I'm looking forward to that. And then I think it's not the final one because there are some library books that I haven't mentioned yet. The final of the horror that I own that I want to read is The Redemption of Morgan Bright by Chris Panatier. I got this in a book box a couple of months ago. I have now ended that subscription. I only got one box and I was like, I don't need any more book boxes because I've done a really good job of clearing out my shelves this year. So but anyway, this one sounds good. So this is about a woman who in the past, so she died on the road from an asylum and her sister blames herself for this death, and then years later the sister checks herself in under a false identity into this asylum to try and figure out what happened to her sister and the secrets of the asylum. So, and this looks like it contains some mixed media, so there's some interview excerpts in here and things like that. So it sounds interesting. Now, the horror books that I am planning on getting out of the library, let me consult my list. One that is waiting for me to pick up is The Hotel by Daisy Johnson. I've read a couple of things by Daisy Johnson, I think. The Hotel is, I believe, a collection of short stories all centred around this one hotel, and I think maybe this one creepy room in the hotel. Sounds good. Also, Brat, a ghost story by Gabriel Smith. So we'll put pictures up for these ones, please, thanks editor, because I don't have them. So yeah, Brat by Gabriel Smith sounds weird. It's about a man who is kind of losing his mind. He's got an old manuscript that belongs to his parents but keeps changing every time he looks at it. There's a bizarre home video. It sounds weird. Hungerstone by Kat Dunn, which I've heard really good things about, which I think is based on or features the character of Carmilla, which is the vampire story by Sheridan Le Fanu, which I have read and enjoyed. So those are the horror books that I'm planning on reading. Okay, on to mystery. So I have a little pile of mystery books here, plus I think 3 more that I'm hoping to get from the library. So the first is The Progress of a Crime, a fireworks night mystery by Julian Symons, which obviously I want to read because it's set on fireworks night. So there is a brutal stabbing that takes place on Guy Fawkes night in front of the bonfire on the village green. There are many witnesses, but it's not really clear what happened and did people really see what they thought they saw. And it says it's based on a real case. So that sounds interesting. Next is one I'm really looking forward to. This is The Red House Mystery by A.A. Milne, which I've wanted to read for years. A.A. Milne of Winnie the Pooh fame. And this is a really famous, well-known murder mystery story by A.A. Milne, which weirdly I've never been able to get out of any of the libraries that I'm a member of. I don't know why that is. So I bought this earlier this year. The blurb on the back doesn't give much away other than it's set in Red House. There's a murder. The local police fail to solve the crime and there's an amateur sleuth who steps in. It's described as a delightful whodunit with humour, excitement and a suitably surprising twist at the end. Definitely want to read that. Next is The Sleeping Sphinx by John Dickson Carr. So I love John Dickson Carr. He's the master of the Locked Room Mystery. I really like his stuff. He was a member of the Detection Club along with Agatha Christie. So the blurb on the back of this book is about a burial vault and I think coffins being moved and stuff like that. And then I was like, the cover doesn't look like anything of what is described on the back. And then I realised at the back, it says at the top, Dr. Fell on the Sealed Tomb. So for some reason, the blurb on the back is advertising like a different book. So I don't think I ever knew what this book was about until just now when I looked it up online. And it's about two twin sisters, I think, presumably twin sisters, and madness runs in their family. And one of the sisters dies, and then Dr. Gideon Fell has to work out, is the sister who has died the mad one or the not mad one? So that sounds like somewhat of a questionable plot, to say the least, but this book has been on my shelf for some years actually, so I would like to get it read. Yeah, definitely sounds questionable. Next is another one that I am really looking forward to. This is The Labyrinth House Murders by Yukito Ayatsuji. I've read a couple of books by this author before, my favourite being The Decagon House Murders, which is based on and sort of like in conversation with And Then There Were None by Agatha Christie. So this author always includes like mysterious houses in their mysteries that have so there's always various like floor plans within the books and like mysterious stuff going on. So there's a floor plan there, I don't know if you can see that. So in this one, actually I don't know what this is about, I haven't read this for ages. So we have a famed mystery writer who lives a life of seclusion in this remote labyrinth house. He invites 4 young crime authors to his home for a birthday party, but when they arrive they are confronted with a shocking death. Sounds excellent. I like it. Close circle of suspects. Yeah, looking forward to that one. And then finally, for the mystery books that I own, I thought I would throw some short stories into the mix. This is the Edinburgh Mystery and Other Tales of Scottish Crime, edited by Martin Edwards. This is one of these British Library crime classics, featuring short stories based in Edinburgh and Scotland. So some of the authors in here include Robert Louis Stevenson, Arthur Conan Doyle, G.K. Chesterton, Baroness Orczy, Josephine Tay. So I don't know if I mean, potentially I may have read 1 or 2 of these before because I read a lot of murder mystery short stories. But I think most of them I have not read before, so that'll be good to like dip in and out of. And then there are 3 mystery books that I am planning on getting out of the library soon. So we'll put pictures up for these ones. The first is Cabaret Macabre by Tom Mead. This is the 3rd in the detective series by Tom Mead. I really enjoyed the first 2 that I've read. The 4th book of the series has just been published. I've been reading them quite slowly just because I really, really enjoy them and I don't want to run out. So seeing as the 4th has been published, I'm going to pick up the 3rd. And Tom Mead writes a a series of books that always centre some sort of like locked room mystery or impossible puzzle. I'm pretty sure I've heard him say that he's been somewhat like influenced or inspired by John Dickson Carr. So yeah, Cabaret Macabre is set in 1938, and we have a snowbound English country house and a locked room murder, which sounds like my cup of tea. Another one I'm looking forward to is The Mysterious Case of the Missing Crime Writer by Ragnar Jonasson, who is an Icelandic crime author who I mostly have really enjoyed their books. I think there's maybe been one that was a miss for me, but most of them I really enjoy. So The Mysterious Case of the Missing Crime Writer is, as you would expect, about a missing crime writer. And the final book in the mystery TBR is The Last Death of the Year by Sophie Hannah, which is the latest Poirot novel that Sophie Hannah has written. It comes out, I think, towards the end of October. And this one, all I know is it's set on New Year's Eve in 1932 on a Greek island. We have a group of people, including Poirot, of course, and Inspector Catchpool, who is the detective inspector that Sophie Hannah has in her books to accompany Poirot, and there's a murder. So I'm very much looking forward to that one. Now on to classics. I don't read a lot of classics, but sometimes I do. And if I am going to read classics, I am always tempted to read them in like autumn or winter, because it's the darker months and you just get cosy, and yeah. So the first is one that I'm going to be reading in September, and that is The Unlit Lamp by Radcliffe Hall. I'm going to be buddy reading this with the brilliant Jen the Librarian. I think this is our first buddy read, which is a bit mad, but I'm really looking forward to it. So Radcliffe Hall is most famous for writing The Well of Loneliness, which I have somewhere on these shelves, which I read I think last year and I loved. Like I really, really loved The Well of Loneliness. So yeah, The Unlit Lamp is about Joan, who is raised in an unhappy home. She dreams of escaping the limitations of village life. When Elizabeth arrives to teach, she finds herself falling in love. So I am really, really looking forward to this. I have high hopes. Let's go with this one first. So this is Edgar Allan Poe's short stories, The Murder in the Rue Morgue and Other Tales. So I have read, I think, I've got another Edgar Allan Poe collection up there, which I think is like mystery and detective novel stories. So this one I think includes some of them, but also some horror ones. So I don't know what I've read and what I haven't, but I think might be something just to sort of dip in and out of throughout autumn. It says horror, madness, violence, and the dark forces hidden in humanity abound in this collection of stories. Right, classics that I am hopefully getting from the library. So one that I definitely do want to read is Uncle Silas by Sheridan Le Fanu. I have heard Katie from Books and Things talk about this one, and when she's spoken about it in the past, it just sounds like a very me book. We'll put a picture up because I don't have the library copy yet. It was first published in 1864, and it's a Victorian Gothic thriller mystery and an early example of a locked room mystery. I mean, come on. It's about a teenager called Maud who becomes aware of the existence of her uncle Silas, who is the black sheep of the family, and there's some like dark mystery in his past. I'm really looking forward to this because, I mean, it sounds absolutely like my cup of tea. Funnily enough, this may just be a me thing, but you know there's a book called Silas Marner, which I'm pretty sure is by George Eliot. In my mind, Silas Marner and Uncle Silas have like combined, and I thought there was one classic book with Silas in the title, and obviously now I realise they're completely different novels by two different people. But anyway, and then the final classic that I would quite like to read, this is ambitious, is Great Expectations by Charles Dickens. Now, I have read Oliver Twist. I read that as a teenager, and I read A Christmas Carol last year. That's all I've read by Dickens. And I don't think Dickens is like very much a me author. However, I think I'm right in saying Great Expectations is told in first person perspective from the character of Pip, and it's sort of a coming of age story. It sounds, that's got Mrs. Havisham in it, hasn't it? Miss Havisham. Sounds kind of gothic, and it just gives me the vibes that I might like it. Like, if I'm gonna love any Dickens, I feel like it might be Great Expectations. So I want to read it. This might be one that I pick up like towards the end of autumn, maybe even going into December, but I would like to give that a go. And then to finish, we have some just random books that don't necessarily fit into any of the aforementioned categories. We have The Listeners by Jordan Tannehill, which, when this came out a few years ago, I heard really, really good things about. It's been sitting on my shelves for a little while now. So it's about a woman called Claire who's kept awake one night by this mysterious hum that she can hear, but it seems like no one else can hear it. Her husband can't hear it. And I think eventually, well, this is on the blurb, she does discover a small group of other people who can hear this hum. It says it turns into something far more extreme and sinister with devastating consequences. So I don't entirely know what to expect, but I have heard really good things about it, and it sounds quite intriguing. When I was looking it up just before, it didn't seem to fit into like horror or mystery, but it's definitely given sort of like dark and intriguing vibes. So I definitely want to read this. Next is quite shameful, really. This is The Doll's Alphabet by Camilla Gradova, which is a short story collection, which I started reading probably over a year ago. I've read about half, and I can't entirely remember why I stopped. So I think these stories are a bit weird. And yeah, maybe like took a bit of concentration to read. I can't remember why I put it down, but when I did put it down, I never picked it back up. So it's literally been sitting on my currently reading shelf on Goodreads. Not Goodreads? What year are we in, Jennifer? Storygraph. For like a year. I really would like to finish it or decide if I want to DNF it. Like some of the titles of the stories I'm yet to read. The Moth Emporium, Notes from a Spider. I mean, those titles sound great, right? Next is The Group by Mary McCarthy. When was this published? I think it was in the 60s. This was first published in 1963. And I saw Julia Armfield, the author, online rave about this book. Like, she loves this book, which was why I wanted to get it out of the library. And then I see on this copy, there's a quote at the top that says, a brilliant novel, honest, engaging and sharp as a tack. Sarah Waters. So if Sarah Waters and Julia Armfield are telling me to read a book, I'm going to read that book. So I don't think I had ever heard of this before, actually. So it's about a group of friends in New York, and it talks about its open discussion of sex and contraception, careers and motherhood. It was unprecedented at the time, and it can now be seen as the precursor of the women's novel. So that sounds really interesting. Only a couple more to go. This is The Unconsoled by Kazuo Ishiguro, who is an author who I really, really love. The Remains of the Day is one of my favourite books of all time. But I'm yet to read 3 of his books. So this one, The Buried Giant and An Artist of the Floating World. This book has been on my shelves for 11 years. And if you've been here sometime, you may have heard me mention this before. So I picked this copy up secondhand and DNF'd it at the time because it's a very like weird, dizzying book. It's about a man he's a renowned pianist. He arrives in a central European city he cannot identify for a concert he cannot remember agreeing to. So he sort of like finds himself in this place. He doesn't know where he is, how he's ended up there, who the people are who he's encountering. It's very sort of, it's a bit fever dreamy. It's dizzying. It feels like what on earth is going on as you're reading it. So the reason I didn't have it at the time is because I had just sort of recently had a period of being very unwell mentally, and this book was not the right book to read at that time. So it's sat on my shelf. I had intended to read it last year, never got round to it, and I really would like to finally read it, but it's become like a thing, you know, like this has been on my shelf for so long, and it's sort of connected with those memories that it's like a big deal. But I would really like to get to this because like I really liked what I read, and I think it could be a book that I really love. So yes, we shall see. And then the final book on this ridiculous TBR is Missing by Alison Moore. This is another one that I picked up randomly from the library at work. I've read The Lighthouse by Alison Moore, I think a couple of times, and really liked it. This sounds interesting. So this is about Jessie. Jessie has moved to the Scottish borders. My husband's left her. She hasn't heard from her son in a long time. That's the cat. Oh, and funnily enough, she lives with a cat, a dog, and she is convinced a ghost in the spare room. But I don't think it's a horror novel. She meets Robert, a local outreach worker, and they're drawn to one another. But at the same time, Jessie starts receiving messages telling her, I'm on my way home. So it kind of sounds like a bit mysterious, but I don't really know what to think. But it sounds intriguing, and I know I like this author's writing. This was first published in 2018. So looking forward to that one. So that is my very ambitious autumnal TBR. But I'm really excited for it. I'm really excited for it. I love autumn. It's just the best time of year. So do let me know if you have any thoughts on any of these books. Are there any that you think I should prioritise? Have you read any of them? What are you planning on reading this autumn? Thank you so much for watching, and I'll speak to you again very soon. Bye.